The historical roots of zombie horror are deep and tragic, going back to the real-life horrors of colonialism and chattel slavery. In original Haitian folklore, the fear of zombies represented the fear of eternal toil, of never being able to escape one's own bondage, never being able to rest, and never being able to resist, not even in one's own mind. Today, of course, zombies have come to represent other things: mindless consumerism, the mob mentality, the breakdown of civilization, and more. And we're going to appeal to some of those themes in today's adventure. Welcome to PhD&D, everyone. I'm Dr. Bowers, and we're going to talk about the domain of dread called Falkovnia, land of military dictatorship and zombie hordes. As with all my Ravenloft videos, we're going to talk about what the domain is, list some media that'll help us get an imaginative grip on the domain, and then sketch out an adventure. In this case, our adventure will take PCs from level 5 up through level 7. That is, they will end the adventure at level 7, and with DM's permission at the end, can level up to 8. So what is the domain of Falkovnia? Well, every month in Falkovnia, a new zombie legion issues from the mists. Never emerging from the same place twice, the horde sweeps across the land, drawn to the densest populations of the living. That's currently the Falkovnian capital of Lekar, where unfit and underfed conscripts defend crumbling walls alongside General Drakov and her crimson-armored elite soldiers, the Talons. Casualties stack up during the zombie sieges, but miracles and moments of valor have not abandoned Falkovnia. The people's numbers dwindle, but they soldier on. In the aftermath of an attack, the Falkovnians burn their dead, repair what they can, and whisper that now might be the time to flee. Invariably, though, someone speaks too loudly, and a so-called traitor is impaled upon Lekar's walls. The people might want to abandon their homes, but Vladeska Drakov will not know defeat. Falkovnia is one of those older domains of dread from 2nd edition D&D, which was given a refresh and a reboot for 5th edition. It's now a zombie-infested land with dwindling resources, where the only civic authority is a homicidal military dictatorship ruled by Vladeska Drakov, a woman who is fond of impaling her political opponents, as well as anyone she deems to be a criminal. It presents some amazing opportunities for disaster-themed horror and survival horror, and we're going to lean into those in our adventure. Now, if you're a fan of the older version of the domain, I highly recommend that you check out Gabriel Jensen's YouTube channel, The Hour of the Raven. It's full of lore and downright encyclopedic in its content. I also recommend the YouTube channel Ravenloft Travel Agent for the same purpose. It's also very encyclopedic, and if you want to brush up on your old Falkovnia lore, I can't think of better places than those. Now, when it comes to influential media, there are so many zombie movies and zombie games and zombie novels and other bits of zombie art that even if we were to narrow down the very best examples of them, we would still be here forever. So I'm just going to list the 3 bits of media which we're going to use in shaping our Falkovnia adventure. The first, from 2023, is Making Friends in Falkovnia, a comic book story written by Ryan Cady and illustrated by Vincenzo Riccardi. This was featured in the graphic novel and comic book series Ravenloft, Orphan of Agony Isle, which is mostly about Lamordia. It's a short horror story about an ill-fated adventurer who goes out of the frying pan and into the fire when he is betrayed by a ghost who at first seems to be saving him. We're going to take this story and use it for Act 1 of our adventure. Our second bit of media from 1932 is Empire of the Necromancers by Clark Ashton Smith. This fascinating tale is about a pair of necromancers who come across an ancient city. After raising the thousands of corpses that are interred there, they begin to build a city for themselves and then set their sights on world domination. It's actually one of my favorite short stories, and certainly within the oeuvre of zombie fiction. Third and finally, from 1943, is the short story The Colossus of Elorn by Clark Ashton Smith. Again, this story concerns a giant kaiju-sized zombie which is created and raised by a necromancer and sent forth to destroy an entire kingdom. If you're an older Dungeons & Dragons player, you might recognize this story because it was adapted into part of the classic D&D adventure Castle Amber. In fact, that very Colossus is depicted on the cover of Castle Amber, famously illustrated by Errol Otis. We're going to take these 3 bits of fiction and blend them together to make an adventure. Here's the outline. In Act 1, at level 5, the PCs are trapped in an abandoned church, having just escaped a horde of zombies that now lay siege to the building. It seems there is no way out. They are soon helped, however, by a pair of friendly ghosts, although this help turns out to be a trap. In Act 2, when the PCs are level 6, they've just been rescued by a group of soldiers and taken to a fortress. From there, they are conscripted to travel south, where, many miles away, there are rumors of a town full of zombies, but the zombies are behaving like people, harvesting crops and raising buildings and going about daily routines. The PCs are asked to investigate this phenomenon, and they soon discover that it's the work of a pair of necromancers. The PCs are imprisoned and must find a way to escape. Finally, in Act 3, at level 7, having escaped the necromancers and returned to the fortress, the PCs take part in the fortress's defense, as a giant kaiju-sized zombie saunters forth from the abode of the necromancers, threatening to smash the fortress to bits unless the PCs take a stand against it. Assuming the PCs are victorious, the threat of the necromancers is ended, and so is the adventure. So let's lay this thing out in detail. In Act 1, the PCs have just escaped a horde of zombies, hundreds, maybe thousands of zombies, and now they're hiding out in an abandoned church, and the zombies are laying siege to it. It seems there's no way out, and all around they can hear the scraping of limbs and the moaning of cadaverous throats. For the map of this place, we're going to use the map of the Sunward Fortress from Chapter 5 of Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. We're going to make the following changes to it, however. First, we're going to get rid of all the slod tadpoles, we don't need those. Second, we're going to replace each Dracophage subject with a pair of specters, as well as replace the red slod with 3 specters. Third, we're going to replace the green slod Veruza with a wraith. We're going to replace the sea elves with a pair of friendly ghosts named Madeline and Charles. We're going to remove the magic from the spawning shard, and instead have it conceal a secret passage that only the ghosts know about. So here's what happens. As the PCs explore the abandoned church, they come across the ghosts of Madeline and Charles, who introduce themselves. They're quite friendly, and say that they are. If the PCs explain their predicament, Madeline and Charles will reveal that they know of a secret passage, which the PCs could use to safely escape this place. They'd be happy to show the PCs where it is, too, if only the PCs will get rid of the meddlesome wraith which haunts downstairs. Assuming the PCs take care of the wraith, which I might give maximum hit points and a couple of legendary resistances, the ghosts reveal the secret passage. It's beneath that shard thing, and it leads to a tunnel which is several miles long, and at the end of the tunnel, a cemetery. The PCs can proceed through the dark tunnel in relative safety, and once they come out into the cemetery, the ghosts reveal the truth. The truth is that the ghosts are friendly. They're very friendly. But their former bodies are not, and those bodies are wandering around and hungry. Sure enough, within a few minutes, a pair of plague spreader zombies arise from behind tombstones or behind a crypt and attack the PCs. For fun, I would make them dressed as like a bride and a groom, only with like rotting clothes. As the PCs fight these two zombies, the ghosts float above and howl with laughter, although they don't participate in the battle. Assuming the PCs defeat the zombies, the ghosts fly away in fear, and within moments, a regiment of guards in red armor with hawks tattooed on their faces show up. The soldiers call themselves Talons, and they explain to the PCs that it's not safe for them to be about here. They offer to escort the PCs to a fortress where they can find safe shelter as well as food and other supplies. With zombies moaning in the distance, the PCs would be wise to accept this invitation, and assuming they do, they proceed to the fortress. They level up to 6, and we proceed to Act 2. In Act 2, the PCs are inside Fort Willow Watch, a fortress that is several miles south of Lekar, Falkovnia's only real city. They are greeted by General Hestion, who has heard of the PC's daring escape from the besieged church and has a job for them. General Hestion says that several miles south, the village of Silbervoss has been overrun with undead. However, rumor has it that these undead do not behave like normal undead. Instead, they are taking up jobs and positions and routines. They're tilling fields and harvesting crops, raising barns and constructing buildings. It sounds insane, but there are multiple reports of this. Hestion wants the PCs to travel south, see whether these rumors are true, and, if they are true, find out what's going on. In exchange for doing this, Hestion offers to outfit the PCs with newer and better equipment, give them a few potions of healing for the road, and, upon a successful mission, give them a large sum of money. Also, if the PCs hesitate or even refuse, General Hestion is prepared to charge them with treason and sentence them to death, so there's that too. Now, for a map of the fortress, I would use Wheel Watch Outpost from Chapter 4 of Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. Just replace all the Dragon Army soldiers and Dragon Army guards with Falkovnian soldiers and Falkovnian guards, get rid of the Draconians, and if you want something with the statistics of that Dragonel, just replace it with a giant raven and say that the giant raven can spit acid rather than fire. You might not need the map in this part of Act 2, but we're definitely going to return to this map in Act 3. Now, assuming the PCs agree, it takes them a couple of days to reach the village of Silbervoss. Along the way, I would run the encounter Eyes Have It from Nerdarchy's book Out of the Box. In that encounter, the PCs discover a cavern filled with aberrant fungi, along with a fungal zombie and a horrible creature called a Dark Witness, which looks like a bloody human torso with a face that floats in the air. It's a really fun, spooky encounter, and there's some treasure at the end, too. When the PCs reach Silbervoss, it's exactly as the rumors said. The PCs see fields tilled by zombie farmers, plows driven by zombie oxen, crops harvested by zombie laborers, and all kinds of goods being manufactured, from weapons to wine, by zombie craftsmen. None of these zombies pay any mind to the PCs, not even if the PCs attack them or obstruct them in their work. They just mindlessly and mechanically go about their routines. Now at some point, especially if the PCs start destroying zombies or obstructing their work, the PCs draw the attention of several undead guards who have the statistics of skeletal knights from Dragonlance: Shadow of the Dragon Queen. The guards approach the PCs and, without speaking, indicate that they want the PCs to come with them. DM should warn the players that these skeletal knights look like deadly foes. They wear heavy armor, and their swords glow with some kind of ill magic. If the PCs resist, they will likely be defeated in battle, taken prisoner, and then presented to the two necromancers that rule Silbervoss. If the PCs resist and are not defeated, well, you can have more skeletal knights show up until they are defeated. If the PCs don't resist, however, and just go with the knights willingly, the knights will lead the PCs into a palace and then into a throne room where there sit two necromancers. The necromancers' names are Mamatmoar and Zodozma, and they tell the PCs that they are the scions of a new empire. They have discovered the secret magic that controls the undead in Falkovnia, and they plan to use it not only to build a city, but to conquer the entire land. They announce that the PCs are now their prisoners, and if they haven't already been relieved of their equipment and shackled, that's what happens now. Skeletal knights turn on the PCs, and with force, subdue them. Now, for a map of this place, we're going to use Fane of the Night Serpent from Tomb of Annihilation. We're going to make the following changes, though. First, Raz Nasi is replaced by a necromancer wizard, Mamatmoar, along with a pair of skeletal knights. Second, the nightmare speaker, Fenthaza, will be replaced by the other necromancer, Sodozma, along with a pair of skeletal knights. Third, we're going to remove the Triceratops, basilisks, and the awakened giant constrictor snake. We don't need those. Fourth, we're going to change all the Yuan-Ti brood guards to obedient zombies. Fifth, we'll change all the Yuan-Ti Malazons into obedient mummies. Sixth, we'll replace all the unnamed Yuan-Ti purebloods with obedient ghouls. Seventh, we'll take all the named Yuan-Ti purebloods and replace them with tomb dwarves from Tomb of Annihilation. And finally, and most importantly, the eighth change, which is that if any of the PCs interact with any of the tomb dwarves, the tomb dwarves will groan that they can recall their lives from centuries ago. More specifically, they recall an ancient clay tablet, which is stored in the eastern part of the fortress in a fungal cavern, and that the tablet's destruction will allow them to return to their eternal rest. This tablet is indeed in Area 22, and if the PCs reach it and destroy it, it will cause all the skeletal knights, zombies, and tomb dwarves to collapse, and the two necromancers will flee, promising revenge against the PCs. There are a few ways the PCs can escape their enslavement. Straightforwardly, they might try to fight their way out, although this will probably get them killed. They could also cooperate with Sodozma, who wants to assassinate Mamatmoar and rule supreme as the only necromancer king. And the third way is the easiest way, that's just find the clay tablet and smash it. Once the PCs escape their enslavement, however, they proceed to level 7, and we go to Act 3. Act 3 begins with the PCs back at Fort Willowwatch, assuming that they not only escaped but headed back to the fortress to report their findings. General Hestion says that necromancers are extremely dangerous. He sends a squadron of troops north to the city of Lekar to report this ominous finding. This renders Fort Willowwatch vulnerable, however, since it had few troops to begin with and now has even fewer. The next day, the PCs and Hestion notice a series of earthquakes about a couple minutes apart each, which grow stronger with each iteration. Soon it's clear what's causing them: an enormous zombie giant, taller than the fortress itself, which saunters toward the fortress with a basket around its neck. In the basket rests at least one of the necromancers from before, who, though occupied with the efforts of steering and controlling the giant zombie, sneer and laugh at the impending destruction of the fortress. For the giant zombie, we're going to use the statistics of a Barrowghast from Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants, except we're going to change its size to gargantuan and give it 3 uses of legendary resistance. It strides right up to the walls of the fortress, where it can hit and be hit by any PCs that are along the parapets. If the PCs only attack the giant from below in the courtyard, then we can have the giant smash through the walls and face the PCs there. As for the necromancers riding in the basket, we're going to say that they don't do anything other than just try to steer and control the giant, since they're exhausted from the laborious magic of raising it to begin with. When the Barogast is defeated, it falls to the ground with a thunderous crash, killing its passengers immediately. The day is saved, for now. The threat of the necromancers is quelled, but the zombie scourge still haunts the land. As for the PCs, they could stay and help rebuild Fort Willowwatch, or head north to the city of Lekar. Either way, word of their deeds will eventually reach the ears of Vladeska Drakov, who will want to see them. The PCs also might be lucky enough, or unlucky enough, to be swept away to another domain of dread by some of the Ravenloft Shadowfell mist. Regardless of what happens next, this adventure comes to a close. So ends our adventure in Falkovnia. What do you think? Did it sate your hunger for zombie horror? What did you think of the suggested maps? And how would you run a zombie campaign in Falkovnia? Let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to do all the internet things, click like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell if you want notifications on new videos on this channel. And thanks!